eno ye Salam TV.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Baligeya Afan Wachinyankari. I do very many things, and at this point, since I'm a climate activist, I decided to do the hosting of this symposium. So welcome to the Climate Change Symposium, brought to you by the IUI Females Campus Diplomats. And as I told you, that it is very important for us to preserve our environment. This symposium is brought to you by Islamic University in Uganda, Salam TV, and the campus diplomats at large. Tonight, we are having our panelists or presenters at the same time, and I will start with Honorable Mutesi Ivy Livia Nachisita, who is going to give us the introduction of this symposium. As you know, before I let her come, there are very many things that we really need to understand in this holy month of Ramadan. The sun is very tough, and you never know why do we think that it's because of our climate change. This is her biodata. She was born 25th Jan 2004. She's single, a Ugandan, and she attended Rise and Shine Ntinda for her USCE, and St. Peter's Secondary School Nalia for her UC. Is it you? Is it how do you call it? UCE for UCE, and train up a child Bugolobi for a PLE or primary living what examination. I'm very sure, according to her biodata and her profile, she's going to give us exactly what we need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mutesi Ivy Livia Nachisita on the podium.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a good evening to you all. My name is Mutesi Ivy, a climate activist and a campus diplomat from Islamic University in Uganda, Females Campus, Kaboja. And this evening, I'm going to address you about climate change. Imagine waking up one morning only to realize that our forests are dust, our lakes are dried up, and our wetlands are completely drained. What would we turn to in case our nature can no longer sustain us? Ladies and gentlemen, climate change. It refers to the long-term shifts in the temperatures and weather patterns. This has been mainly due to the changes in the sun's activity. However, since the 1960s, human activities have been the main driver of climate change. Activities such as urbanization. This has been caused by rural-urban migration, where people move from rural areas to the urban areas in search for better lives and opportunities. However, when they plan to settle in urban areas, they are financially constrained and cannot be able to afford better shelter. So they end up building homes or shelters that are more affordable, and these are near wetlands. This is what we know as the slums. So this encroachment of the wetlands deprives them of their purpose of purifying the water. Then Uganda, like many developing nations, is highly vulnerable to climate change. Despite being known for its serene forests, vast lakes, and life-sustaining wetlands, these natural resources are facing a severe threat due to human activities and the ever-increasing climate change. Climate change is the greatest threat to health, according to the World Health Organization, in the 21st century. Today, I'm going to show you and I'm going to explain to you how this climate change is a threat to our environment and our lives and our natural resources. We have our forests. We are losing our forests, which, like Mavera, which is a commonly known rainforest, to deforestation. This loss of forest cover leads to an increase in carbon emissions and a disruption of the local rainfall patterns. Uganda has been commonly known for having 2 rainy seasons and 2 dry seasons. However, over time, this pattern has changed, and this has affected the agricultural sector in a way that farmers can no longer predict a suitable time to plant or harvest their crops, and this makes them end up making a lot of losses. Furthermore, we have our wetlands. As we all know, wetlands act as a sponge. They purify water, rainwater, and the things within the wetlands. We have the bio animals and all the soil. We have plants that help to purify water. They act like a sieve, and this helps to control flooding, to control our water in the lakes from being infected. So that's the use of swamps, of wetlands. However, wetlands like Lubigi have been encroached on. Wetlands like Lubigi have been encroached on and degraded, and this leads to an increase in the vulnerability to climate-induced disasters. Then we have Luera wetland. Luera wetland has been used for large-scale sand mining and rice cultivation. Large-scale sand mining, this is where a lot of soil is extracted from the wetland, and rice cultivation, this leads to soil degradation, and this affects and it destroys our wetlands in a way that it can no longer sustain or do what it's meant to do to control climate change. We have Lake Victoria's water levels that have been increasing. Between the late 2019 and mid-2020, causing widespread flooding and along the shorelines, which is affecting a lot of lives and leading to death and loss of property. This, the increase in precipitation contributes to the phenomenon that is linked to climate change. Precipitation is any form of water that is dropped on the Earth's surface. And there has been an increase in the precipitation, that is rain, and it has led to flooding since our wetlands are being destroyed, and the lakes can no longer have a depot for where the excess water is retained. So this leads to excess flooding, this leads to destruction of property, of plants, and affecting thousands of lives of people living in our country. Therefore, the impact of climate change, basing on the facts that our forests, wetlands, lakes are being threatened, drained, and destroyed, and our rainfall patterns are becoming unpredictable. As Dr. Catherine Hayhoe said, the climate crisis has been caused by us, and the solutions must come from us. We must therefore find ways on how we can address these challenges while ensuring sustainable development of our country, Uganda. Thank you. Your environment, your responsibility. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Clap for Honorable Ivy. And if my environment is my responsibility, then that means I have to do a lot to see that in this holy month of Ramadan, I'm doing what we call the due diligence. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Balige Afan Wachinyankari. It's very important to remind you that I'm called Afan, so that next time when you meet me there, you do not bypass or you do not just leave me on the road, if at all. I'm somewhere. So as we continue in our climate change symposium, And they're saying that the theme for tonight is your environment, your responsibility. Ask yourself, it's rhetoric. If at all you wake up in the morning and they ask you that how many polythene bags, how many bottles have you thrown in the previous month, how will you say? I mean, you find very many people in their expensive cars, but after taking a drink, maybe after breaking their fast, they throw a bottle outside. That is very bad. You're not taking the keen mantle of your responsibility as a person. Banange, tweddeko to making sure nti buli kimu kyetukozesa kiri mu bitabo ebituufu ate nga KCCA bwegamba nti bannange temulitaringa oba temusuula bucupa anywhere kiba kitegeerekeka. Womala okukozesa akaveera kakumise essigiri oba tolina sigiri kaveera ako kola ki kookye so that osobola okufunamu empeera mu mwezi gwa Jubilee, mu mwezi gwa Ramadhan guno. Ladies and gentlemen, I will continue to welcome very many presenters we have tonight, and the next one attained her education. I think she started from Ntungamo district, where she hails from, and she has very many skills. She's good at poem writing, reciting. She also attained the gold medal in speech, certificate in MDD, that is music, dance, and drama. She's good at acting. Her education at O level, she was at Sacred Heart Mushanga. I guess you know where it is. And the A level at St. Agnes Girls Bushenyi. Her interests lies in poetry and the art of public speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome Honorable Amumpere Tina. You're welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Amumpere Tina, a climate activist and a young diplomat from Islamic University in Uganda. Today, I'm happy that I have beautiful faces in this room and gallant gentlemen that are here to watch this symposium. If I was in Western Uganda, I would say Nakwente. But now, I'll pray for blessings. Well, like our first diplomat said, climate change refers to the long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. Well, currently in Uganda, the dry seasons are becoming longer and the wet seasons are becoming shorter. This is a threat to our climate. We have questions, you and I, we have questions about this climate, and today I will unleash to you the causes of this climate change. Dr. James Hansen, NASA climate activist, points out that it is not an environmental issue, but also a human rights crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, it is us responsible for the climate change that is happening in our country. We are the problem and we can be the solution. One of the human activities, we have deforestation. Deforestation, this is the permanent destruction of forest, trees in an area. Well, in Uganda, we have various forests. We all know the forests. Even the border man you meet, he will speak of Maria Forest. But do we still have that Maria Forest? Yes, it is in its existence, but how is its form? The nature of it is now deprived. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take a look back in our homes. Most families had trees. Most families had what we call forests. There are very many forests that are not on the globe, and the government is not aware of them, but people are destroying them. You're going to ask me, how is this causing climate change? But it is. The moment you cut down these trees, the moment you destroy these forests, you're providing carbon into the atmosphere, because these trees trap carbon emissions not to go into the atmosphere. So, ladies and gentlemen, please take care of our forests. As you see, IU Islamic University in Uganda, the females campus, we have a serene environment, the trees, the forest, you see, we have really tried to promote climate change. And the National Forestry Authority has stated it clearly that our forests have declined 24% in 1990 to 11.25 in 2025 by just our own being, cutting down for charcoal production, fuel, and very many others. So we have to plant trees so that we can stop climate change. We have agriculture expansion. Very many crops are coming on the globe by the agriculture sector in Uganda. People should plant vanilla, people should plant coffee. Why do you expect these people to plant the coffee you're talking about? Obviously, they're going to encroach our forests. They're going to encroach our wetlands. And the mere fact that you've destroyed this vegetation, you're putting the greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere. Where are we going? Where is our climate now? You're feeding the sun now. It is because of you, your acts. But we have a solution. Like I said, we are the problem, and we can be the solution. Use of the inorganic fertilizers. We used to grow crops very well and produce the high yields without fertilizers. But nowadays, a farmer cannot grow anything without putting fertilizers into the land. That is going to affect our climate because this is going to produce nitrous oxide. This is a greenhouse gas emission. As long as it is in the atmosphere, please, this is going to cause climate change. No wonder the sun now. No wonder. Because it is all our fault. Overgrazing. As long as the animals overgraze on a certain piece of land, you're going to cause depletion on the vegetation. And this is going to contribute to very many factors that are going to cause climate change. The use of bulldozers and tractors to clear lands. Well, in the back days, we used hoes. Didn't we produce crop yields? Didn't we have yields? We used our hoes, and please, we had crop yields. But everyone now wants to cultivate large masses of lands. They have to use tractors and bulldozers. These are going to emit gases in the atmosphere. They're going to emit these gases, and once these gases are in the atmosphere, they're going to cause climate change. Well, we have also population growth and urbanization. Uganda's population currently, it is estimated to be 45 million. On that range, we can easily estimate how we depend on our natural resources, our dependency on the natural resources. Take an example, this mighty institution is depending on only one washroom, and all of us are using it. How would that sound? How would that look? We are putting dependency on it. The stench coming from it, everything that is coming from it is going to affect us who are in that university. Let us drive that example to our climate. The moment we are mining in an environment, we are going to encroach our wetlands. We are going to destroy forests because we want where to settle. We want settlement, ladies and gentlemen. And where are we going to settle? We are going to destroy our wetlands. No wonder the flooding in Kampala. You're going to ask me why. Because wetlands are the natural drainage system God gave to us. The fact that we destroy them, we don't have what is going to trap this water. When heavy rains come, we don't know where this water is going to, because the wetlands are no longer there. They are being destroyed by us, by our own interests. And by doing so, we are also bringing a change to our climate. Urbanization, well, this is the growth of towns. We see very many cities have come up, Hoima City, Mara City, Kampala City, our very own capital city. We are very proud of the development that is going on, but just know we have the developments like industrialization. These industries bring out gases. They bring out toxic fumes. Ladies and gentlemen, these fumes are being put in the atmosphere. And this atmosphere of ours, it is the dear one that has helped us, that we are living on. But the fact that these gases are emitted there, we are going to face all this we are facing now. the heavy rains, the drought. We have energy production and consumption. Yes, although Uganda has a renewable source of energy, but much of its own energy is coming from biomass and wood fuel. Well, the environment that I live in, we still use charcoal, and the government is aware. This charcoal comes into Kampala and our nose. We are watching. I'm not saying that it is not a good source to use, but we can improvise, because the fact that we burn these fossil fuels, they are going to emit gases into the atmosphere. Our main challenge is the greenhouse gases being emitted in the atmosphere to cause climate change. I'm not saying these greenhouse gases are very bad, but much of them being accumulated in the atmosphere, they are disastrous. We have waste management. Industrial waste from our very own industries, like Mukwano. We have the Ginger Industrial Park. We have the Namambe Park. Those are industries. We very well know that these fumes are not very good to our atmosphere. Once they are exposed into the atmosphere, they produce methane. And I want to assure you that methane is 23 times more effective than carbon dioxide. You can imagine how toxic it is. It is really a potent gas. You and I can fight this. We have solid wastes. Solid wastes, they start with personal life. How do you manage your waste, you personally as an individual? Everyone is fond of Rolex, the Uganda famous street food. I can see the smile on your face, but where do you put that kavera? Yes, it starts with me and you. You're in a bus and you throw out that bottle, that soda. It is going to produce methane. And like I said, it is 23 times more than carbon dioxide. So it starts with me and you today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not the first diplomats to raise our voices about climate change, but we have felt the effect of climate change. And as the Islamic University in Uganda, the famous campus diplomats, we feel we should be the last generation to feel this effect. Thank you very much for listening to me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Honorable Tina Amumpeire from Tungamo, and she's the campus diplomat at the Islamic University in Uganda, Females Campus, Kaboja. Now, clap for her once again. She talked about the issue of us importing those seeds from out, because when it comes to harvesting, you get a lot. But when you want to reseed again or to replant, the second harvest will make you cry. See what you did, Amumpaire? And nechi, njagala kunyonyola my mama kitegere bulungi. Neddagala lyebateekako. Si ogamba? Eddagala lino libateeka ku plants, nalireeta obuzibu. Tugenda kuddawa. Ng'onenya omutwe Eunice. Tugenda kuddawa bannayuganda. Nga tuli mu Ramadan period eno. There's a friend of mine yali ayagala okulima entende ekabaale. N'asuula ensigo z'entende n'azitwala ekabaale. Bamugamba nti mu zino mountainous areas entende zijja kubala. By the time we tunatuukira mu kisiibo ekiddako, ojja kuba gwa supplying Western Uganda yonna. N'asimba omwezi gumu tezidda, myezi ebiri tezidda, kati n'abuuza Seeka nti Seeka nasimba entende zange mu nsozi eyo, naye baŋŋamba muno entende engeri gye ziri nti zibeera Buwarabu, ziwaawo kudda, nkole ntya? Agamba nti entende zino ziyinza obutakula, naye genda oyikule ebyo ebinnya bye bakola ki, bye baateekamu, agenda okutakula bw'ati nga zaavundavunda dda. Now, before you start your farming methods, you should consult abantu abalina obumanyirivu mu ebyo bakulagirire lwaki waawe oteekeddwa okusimba biki by'oteekeddwa okukozesa ebisobola okupreserving our environment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the Climate Change Symposium, and we're still on our theme, your environment, your responsibility. Now, apart from being a diplomat, she's attending Islamic University in Uganda, Females Campus Kaboja, and she's doing Bachelor's of Laws. Higher education, she went to Cleveland Hill Primary School. I don't know where it is found, but there is that Cleveland I know from Chinawataka. Is it that one? It's okay. You will clarify. From where? Chebando. Chebando, Chisaro. Okay, fine. Cleveland Hill Primary School, Chebando, Chisaro. And then she went to Budo Secondary School. Yeah. She has awards of entrepreneurship. She has been a coordinator for that long, and that was 2022. She was a class coordinator or class president, senior 6A. A is for maybe active people, right? And B is for brilliant people. So I don't know, but that's how I used to term them. She was the most disciplined student, 2022. Clap for that, Banangi. Hey, Eunice. Your CV is heavy. Hobbies. She loves public speaking, passionate about climate change. She's a climate activist, and she says she loves her mother so much. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Honorable Eunice Kitimbo, who is a campus diplomat.
Thank you very much. Has anyone noticed the rising temperatures in Uganda these days? Yes. What has actually caused this? What can we do about this? And where has it left Uganda? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eunice Chitimbo, a campus diplomat from Islamic University Females Campus Kaboja. And today, climate change is no longer a distant threat, but rather happening now. Today, in this climate symposium, let us explore the effects, call them impacts, of climate change. Just as the earlier speakers talked about the definition of climate change as the long-term alterations in average weather patterns and temperatures of the earth. The next speaker also explored the causes of climate change, which she told us that deforestation, energy consumption, and among others, are the causes of this climatic change. This is coming about because of your activities, you, your neighbor, and I personally standing here. That is the reason as to why we have climate change in Uganda today. Recently, the Uganda Meteorological Authority in Uganda warned us about the rising heat wave in Uganda. But then the Ministry of Uganda, or the Ministry of Water and Environment that handles climatic change in Uganda, I would beg we applaud them in the absentia. On 7th March, warned us about the upcoming heavy rainfall that we are actually experiencing these days. Ladies and gentlemen, let's proceed to the impacts of climatic change. Climatic change has affected us economically, socially, and politically. Economic impacts refer to the impacts that are affecting Uganda as an economy. Where is this climatic change leaving Uganda? We have agricultural growth. Ladies and gentlemen, Uganda, our motherland, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, its backbone is agriculture. By backbone, I simply mean the most important sector in Uganda.
This is where we get revenue that we actually use to improve the health sector, the transport sector, and among others. This climatic change has not given us a chance for agricultural growth. This is because of the droughts that have come due to the rising temperatures. These rising temperatures actually cause drought that thank you. These rising temperatures have actually caused drought. Take a look at those areas in northern Uganda, whereby the crops are dried up. And if they're dried up, what are we going to sell? What are we going to export to other countries to receive revenue to develop other sectors? Ladies and gentlemen, another economic impact is water scarcity. By water scarcity, the water is scarce in the country. And we all know water is life, isn't it? Where we don't have water, we don't have life. But because of these rising temperatures that actually cause evaporation risks, for example, in Lake Victoria, the water is going to become scarce. And the farmers are going to resort to irrigation systems, which is quite expensive. Ladies and gentlemen, another economic impact is loss of biodiversity. By biodiversity, let us look at the animals, the plants, and the fish. Taking a look at the fish, because of these rising temperatures, there is actually warming in the water bodies we have, which is not going to leave the fish comfortable in the water deep down there. Some fish are going to die, and this is going to cause a very bad effect on the fish industry. For example, people that are carrying out fishing to earn a living. This is actually affecting our economy. Going on to the social impacts. Climate change has affected us socially. This is you and your neighbor. We have food insecurity, whereby food insecurity, food is going to be scarce, like as I earlier talked about the agricultural growth. Crops are going to dry up, and we won't have food to sell. We won't have food to give to different people. And when we don't have food, like as they say, water is life, but we all need food to function very well. Ladies and gentlemen, another social impact is human migration. People are going to actually move from the rural areas to urban areas, looking for settlement, looking for better climate. Because they are tired of the drought in those specific areas, they'll move to areas where it's going to be very comfortable for them. This is going to cause overpopulation to the areas they've gone to. For example, someone moving from Bududa coming to Chebando, it's going to cause overpopulation, which will also result to poor sanitation and poor personal hygiene. Climate change has not only done that, but there is also human migration, disruption of human settlements. With climate change, it does not basically mean heat, but also rainfall. You can take a look at that, where we have a disruption of human settlements because of the heavy rainfall that caused floods, threatening homes, infrastructure, and human safety. Ladies and gentlemen, this heat, these rising temperatures have also caused health risks. In the health risks, we have indirect impacts, those risks that we won't actually see. Impact on health services, increased risk of accidents, potential disruption of infrastructure, and there are those that are direct, people having heat illness. Like recently, Dr. Sarah Chintu, a physician at Mulago Hospital, actually asserted that there are more cases of patients experiencing dizziness, headaches, and fatigue at Mulago Hospital. This is due to the increased rising temperatures. We also have displacement and migration. Like as I earlier talked about, people moving from Karamoja to Kampala. Because of overpopulation, we are going to get also poor sanitation and poor personal hygiene. Climatic climate change has also affected the country politically. Next year we are going to vote, isn't it? 2026. We are going to vote. So I wish you all the best. Politically, we are going to over-depend on foreign aid. Foreign aid is basically whereby one country moves to another to ask for, let me call it, money to help in a certain sector. Because of these rising temperatures, Uganda is actually going to go on and get debts from other improved countries to help us stop these rising temperatures, which is a bad impact. It is going to cause debts and retarded growth of the country economically. We also have hindrance in elections, as I earlier said, that this year we are electing. Suppose it rains heavily that day, where will we vote from? In conclusion, therefore, negativity has 10 letters, doesn't it? And so does positivity. You have a right to make your own choice. Let us stay positive and do what is meant to be right. Thank you.
Your environment, Banangi. Your environment, your environment, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the Climate Change Symposium. That has been the most disciplined student in the year 2022. I don't know whether the discipline deteriorated or what, or increased at the same time. Thank you for getting that award. By the way, since I have no time, I won't talk about that story, but I would have told you a story about getting a job, whereby they found two candidates with the same qualities, but it was one thing. They told them to read their numbers. And someone said 0704 74 13 69. And someone said 0704 74 1369. And the candidate. So if they tell you to read your number, don't say 74 13 69 86. Okay? So even that on your CV can really improve on your CV. I'm very sure all of you won that award just because some of our schools do not recognize that. Like Masakasek is a very good school anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still on Salam TV and at Islamic University in Uganda, Females Campus Kaboja, and we are still on the Climate Change Symposium. Before I go further, I would like to also introduce our next speaker, who is, let me read her profile so that you can also see. I believe she's from Budo, and she has traveled in very many countries for such kind of things. But anyway, she started her primary school in a very good school somewhere there, and her O-level, I think she was in Kisugu. She was at Ebenezer Primary School, Kisugu. Kisugu Muyenga, the boundary of Muyenga and Kisugu, and some people call that the school is in Muyenga anyway. Budo Secondary School for O-level and A-level, so she loves engaging in voluntary activities. During her time at high school, she was also party in those activities. She participated in various leadership roles. She's pursuing a bachelor's degree in LLB. She's interested in human rights, equality, and she's a climate activist. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Mahulo Nadia Nabirio. Yeah, you can come and have your space.
It's an honor to be introduced by an important man in this university. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mahulo Nadia, a campus diplomat from Islamic University in Uganda, Females Campus. Here today, we are talking about climate change. As earlier introduced by my fellow diplomats, climate change refers to the long-term shifts in temperatures on the Earth's surface. The causes of climate change in Uganda, we have human activities and deforestation. Today I'm going to talk about the adaptations to climate change, or resolutions or solutions to climate change. The first one I'll go with is the adaptation to renewable energy. When I talk about renewable energy, I mean the energy that is generated from the natural resources, for example, the sun, the wind, and water. In Uganda, we have a high potential for the generation of hydroelectricity power from dams like Karuma Dam and Isimba Dam. This electricity is supplied through many areas in the city and surrounding areas of Uganda. And for those who cannot access this electricity, an affordable solution is the solar energy, which is generated from the sun. Companies like SolarNow and Phoenix International are providing these affordable solutions to households that cannot access the hydroelectricity power. To move on is the adaptation to sustainable agricultural practices. These are practices that ensure the long-term production of food in a given area, and they minimize on the impact of climate in our environment. Now in Uganda, we realize that most people are adapting to the use of artificial fertilizers. You'll find that in that land where they have used artificial fertilizers, if its productivity was a period of 10 years, it will reduce from 10 years to 6 years or 7 years. Whereas, back in the day, our grandparents used to use natural fertilizers, for example, the farmyard manure from animal waste, and the green manure from the leaves of banana, from those of beans and peas, among others. And our land was already good. Now with this, there is nothing like our land is going to degrade in the production of these. We'll continue having vegetation, we'll continue having these plants, and they will continue sustaining our population without actually invading in the climate of Uganda. We have water conservation. When I talk about water conservation, many people understand water conservation by collecting rainwater. Well, yes, the concept is about collecting rainwater. In the cities or areas in Kampala, many people have installed rainwater harvesting systems in their homes, where they harvest water and put them in tanks. Well, it's an important thing to have in a home, and most people who do not have that are using jerry cans and pots. It's amazing, but in rural areas where people cannot afford these tanks, it's important to dig up ponds and lakes, because in periods when we are experiencing a lot of rainfall, this water can be collected in those ponds, it can be collected in those lakes, and it can be highly appreciated in areas, in seasons when you are experiencing a lot of drought. At the end of the day, people do not have to rely on underground water during these seasons of the dry seasons. And our environment will be kept clean because they will not resort to other ways of getting this water. To move on is the waste management. This is a point everyone understands in their point of view as recycling and composting, which is a good thing. We are realizing that in areas like Mpiji town, many people are using bottles to build houses. At the end of the day, when they're leaving these houses, what is going to happen to that house? It's going to be hit down, and these bottles are going to go back in the ground. When they go back in the ground, remember they do not rot. So at the end of the day, it's going to be affecting our climate because they're going to remain down and they're going to introduce dangerous gases into the soils, and it's going to come back to climate. We are looking at people using polythene bags. Polythene bags, yes, they're helpful, But where you dispose them off is very important. Note that you're not going to just dispose it off into any ground just because I'm done, so I just throw off anywhere. No, they can be used, for example, as they told you, to light the charcoal stoves. For those who do not have, it's a privilege. We can adapt to the use of paper bags instead of these plastic polythene bags, because at the end of the day, our environment, it has to be protected. Composting. Composting is the recycling of of this rotting or decaying matter. Yes, it can also be recycled. We do not only recycle plastics, we also recycle these other things that can rot. They are taken back into the ground and they can act as natural fertilizers to enable our soils to continue being productive. To move on is the climate resilient infrastructure. When we are experiencing floods in Uganda, we are going to realize, okay, when we're experiencing these heavy rainfalls, we're going to realize that we're having floods in areas like Mbale, Kasese, Waise, Natete, even there. We have floods. What can we do about this? Well, we can begin by creating channels where this water, instead of it being collected in our ways, on our roads, it can be directed down into the swamps, into the wetlands, where this water is supposed to be, instead of it being on the road. And it actually disrupts our everyday activities, like transportation. Some people cannot move on those roads to go to work. Some people cannot move on these roads to go out into schools to attain their education, which is sad. Creating education and awareness. When I talk about this, what we are doing right now is creating education and awareness to people who have not heard about this. We are definitely not the first people, but we are also engaging in this because it's a problem that is affecting Uganda all through. Education and awareness. Here in Islamic University in Uganda, we conducted a community outreach where we cleaned our streets of paveways where people pass. That was in November at the end of last year. From then, we realized that our streets are cleaner, and for people who are in this room, who entered through those gates, can witness. They can be a testimony because when they entered this place, it was clean. I believe they can be able to come back again because it looks beautiful. We are looking at the National Adoption Plan, the Climate Change Department under the Ministry of Water and Environment. These people are doing a great job in creating awareness in Uganda about climate change. Lastly is the point that we all know, which is afforestation and reforestation. We realize that Uganda's climate is mostly seated on plants, trees in particular. This is a very important thing. Them being cut down is really not good, because they are the ones that are giving us this. They produce oxygen and actually remove the carbon dioxide in the air. Carbon dioxide is only affecting our environment. How? This destroys the ozone layer, and then it brings about this that we are seeing, these prolonged dry seasons. It's really not good. It's irritating. Sometimes sleep can fail to come because it's really hot at night. Most people cut them down. We understand that we need firewood, yes, it's a good thing. But it is your responsibility to plant a tree. If you cut down one, it wouldn't hurt to plant two. For people who need them for people who need these trees for commercial purposes, it's okay. But it depends. If you cut them in an area where they have existed, please plant the trees back, not at using the land for other things. It wouldn't be good. I'll conclude by saying climate change is a really, really big problem that is affecting Uganda. The only way of creating this difference is if we work together, not only the government, not only with the youth, not only the young people in schools, but also everyone. It's your responsibility. Your environment is your responsibility. It's the only way we can create a change for future generations to come. Thank you.
Okay, another hand of clap. Thank you so much, Mahulu, Nadia, na video, as she prefers. Though it is important, as I said, to understand the value of your name. It takes you far places, and that's why you have to realize how important the name is. Ladies and gentlemen, you are still watching the Climate Change Symposium. And my name is Baligea, Afan Wachinyankari. We're on the first ever Climate Change Symposium in Islamic University in Uganda. But we are now seated at Females Campus Kaboja. Who knows that this is the city for the IUIU as a whole. Since we are praising IUIU Females Campus, I would like to give you the next speaker, presenter, who is the last before you go to the panel. And she attended her Nasaran Primary School from Victory Learning Primary School. I think it is in Masaka. I don't know. She attended both O and A level from Masaka Seke or Masaka SS, but commonly known as what? Masaka Seke. Anyone from Masaka Seke here? Hey. You people started from the village. But now Masaka is a city anyway. The city. Currently, she's in 4th year, pursuing bachelor's in LLB, and she's the president of Human Rights Club. She's the Katikiro, Nkobazambogo. How many people are in Nkobazambogo here? I believe all the Bagandas are in Nkobazambogo, and other neighboring tribes anyway, they're in Nkobazambogo. And she's also a member of Basogan State. I don't know why, but I think she loves leadership so much. How many in Basogan State here? Hey, Katikiro Basogan State. Okay, fine. And she's a class representative of Law Society, which is a society for all people doing law, for all the council around. Now, she's a minister of disaster preparedness. I think she's the right person to present about this. Clap for her. Preparedness on the 14th Guild Cabinet of Islamic University in Uganda, Females Campus Kaboja. And lastly, she's a campus diplomat, which is very much more important on this. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Amina Nachigude.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Afan. Like this. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, my name is Nachigude Amina, a campus diplomat from Islamic University in Uganda, Females Campus Kaboja. Well, I'm here to present about how we, the youth, can help in promoting climate advocacy. The earlier diplomats have taken you through what climate change is, the causes of climate change, the impacts of climate change, and the adaptations towards climate change. Well, I'm here to persuade you about ways we, the youth, can help in promoting climate advocacy. Well, you have heard, I've been introduced with various titles, and one prestigious title I'm so proud of is me being the President Human Rights Club, Islamic University in Uganda Females Campus. And my first way through which we, the youth, can help in promoting climate advocacy is going to be centered around that. My first aspect in regards will be climate literacy. And as Mr. Afan introduced me, I'm the current President, Human Rights Club, Islamic University in Uganda Females Campus. Well, on the 22nd of September last year, I led a team of dedicated women in Chitezi. I hope everyone knows what happened to Chitezi. A lot of people died. So we carried out an outreach in regards to our club, and we interacted with various women, where I must say we educated them, we educated the survivors on the causes of climate change, as my earlier diplomats have discussed, on the causes of climate change, on the impacts of climate change, and as well as the consequences of climate change. In addition to that, we engaged in various trainings with them, which included waste management. I don't know if you have got a chance to see Chitezi. There is a lot of rubbish. It is actually a heap. But we engaged with them, and in regards to waste management, we educated them that there can be those empty bottles or maybe polythene bags that are there in heaps can be recycled and they can be at an advantage. Yes, we also, as an earlier diplomat talked about composting. So composting is very crucial, and we also engaged with them in regards to that aspect. Lastly, we encouraged the survivors that they can engage in decision making. With decision making, in regards maybe advocating for asking the government for more climate policies, my emphasis is going to rotate around Chitezi, as I've been talking about. So those women, we educated those women that they have a chance to engage with maybe the leaders in the area, and they can air out their views in regards to advocating for policies. So it is our role, the youth, to educate the masses on what can be done in regards to promoting climate advocacy. So my next point would be, or my next aspect would be, use of social media. So I believe 95% of Ugandans own or own engage with social media, or maybe everyone has a smart device. It can be a phone or a laptop, any social media device. But how are we using these devices? Are you posting selfies? Are you making, or maybe memes in regards to whatever is happening in Uganda, but you are neglecting one crucial or one important aspect, and that is climate change? Well, social media is a very powerful tool, I must say. And I don't know if you're using it in a right way, or maybe you are disregarding that we are able, or we can use social media to do the right thing. I'm going to refer you, I read a tweet by a human rights activist, as well as she's a climate activist. She tweeted about, actually you can go now and check, she tweeted on the 3rd of March this very year. She tweeted that the heat that is happening currently in Uganda, it is catalyzed by deforestation, and maybe with the things that we are doing, the pollution that is rampant. She again, under that, indicated that if the heat is bothering you, plant a tree. I mean, if it is bothering you, what is stopping you from planting a tree? You have a right, it is your right. As long as it's good, please plant a tree. Plant a tree, and it will be helpful to the future generation that is to come, and maybe even us that are around. So, my next aspect in regards to climate activism, or as the youth in promoting climate advocacy, is join climate activism groups. For example, us, the climate, for example, us, the campus diplomats of Islamic University in Uganda. There is no criteria that is followed. As long as you are a human being and you are devoted, you are dedicated, you are highly welcome. You are free to come and join us, because we are fighting for a good cause. Or maybe you can be unique. You can start up your own climate activism group. Why not? You can start up your own climate activism group. Okay, there are many other climate activism groups you can join in regards to climate advocacy. And number one It's the Girls for Climate Action, led by our own, a Ugandan, led by Joanita Babidie. As you have heard, it is Girls for Climate Action. So women are highly recommended to join this activism group. Under this, Joanita Babidie is mainly focused on training women on climate policies and advocacy. So why don't you join Joanita Babidie in order to promote or advocate climate advocacy? Or if maybe you don't want to join Joanita Babidie, there are also other climate activism groups. For example, another one would be Plus One Tree Project. Oh my God, here, the name of the climate activism group, Plus One Tree Project. Initially, it is mainly focusing on plant a tree, or maybe we are planting more trees. Under this, it is under a lady still. Oh my God, ladies, we are very powerful. It is under a lady led by Evelyn Acham. So she mainly focuses on reforestation. She focuses still on efforts and inclusion of climate change in education circulars. So education, as we are here, we are of course here to study. And why not including climate change in our education circulars? So I encourage everyone of you out there in Uganda, join us, the Campus Diplomats of Islamic University in Uganda. Fund us if you can. We are here to do everything in a right way. And maybe some other thing, a hint on what we are going to do in the future. We are planning cleanups, and of course we are going to plant trees in the nearby future. So I must say, Kasavu Kanyama, please join us, and indeed we are going to make a change. Then, my last aspect in regards, there are many aspects, but my last aspect in regards to this would be engaging leadership. You have had my leadership positions from the start. If you engage in leadership, your voices will be heard. You will be exposed. You will get maybe large number of people that are going to follow you up. And if people follow you up, you will be able to raise your voice. You'll be talked to hundreds of people in regards. For example, what we are doing here, all these beautiful ladies are participating in various activities in this university, and as well as Uganda, of course. So we are here because we are followed, and because we are leaders. We are here to educate you. We are here to encourage you. We are here to persuade you that change can happen, and change, of course, can start with us, the young generation. Allow me conclude by saying that, allow me conclude by saying that we are all unique. We all possess unique features. You possess your own unique feature. I as well possess my unique feature. And for youth, we are very creative, we are energetic, and of course we stand out. Why not? As the Bagandas say, we are the emito, I must tell you, and it's going to start with us. It is surely going to start with us. It is your role and it's your duty to protect the environment, as Nelson Mandela said. So your environment, your responsibility. Thank you for listening to me. Yes, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your environment, your responsibility. Okay, thank you so much, Honorable Nachigude. That's how one of the panelists calls you. Now, the Nachigude, you know her, right? Okay, fine. Honorable Nachigude Amina, right? For giving us such a wonderful presentation. Advocacy. Now, I should also think about a theme that emphasizes us as men to marry more than 4, inshallah. But that's not religious. I cannot do that. If we're in African Tradition Society, I would be a right person. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of the Climate Change Symposium at Islamic University in Uganda, and we are live on Salam TV. We're now going for our panel. I'm opening the discussion to the audience, and I think that Honorable Mahulu Nadia, you can get this microphone and pass it to the audience to ask questions. I'm very sure that I also like to introduce Council. First, give her the microphone to Honorable Sabila. Then she introduces herself before they ask her questions. Yeah, your profile is so big, so you can introduce yourself as they ask you the questions, and we get to the point. We have 10 minutes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Afan. I do not have a big profile, but my name is Sarah Sabila, a fourth-year law student here at Islamic University in Uganda. I am the Prime Minister of this institution, and I'm really glad that I am here today on the panel. Excited to join the panel discussion today, speaking about climate change. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Sarah Sabila, a fourth-year law student at Islamic University in Uganda, but as well the Prime Minister of this institution. I am a gender equality activist, but as well an environmentalist, and I'm really excited to be here speaking about climate change, a very big problem that is affecting many in this nation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think your name and the question so that she can answer faster.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Babidi Kayaga Husna. My question is to Sabila Sal. Can you draw the nexus between women and climate change and throw more light on how women face climate difficulties?
Thank you very much, Ms. Kayaga, for your question. As we gather here today, I'm sure all of us are really excited to be here, speaking about things of national importance, like climate change. And I must say, women, getting back to your question, you asked about the nexus between women and climate change and how climate change has affected women in the nation today. Firstly, I'll talk about women. Women are the backbone of the family. We all know that. They nurture the society. They are well known for agriculture. And I must say 70% of the rural population in this country is based or rely on agriculture. But I must say also 60% of the women in this nation do mostly of agriculture. So it is the women that are faced or face the effects of climate change. It is the women that, face all these things that come with climate change, the impacts that were also talked about in the presentation. And I must say it is the women that bring the best nexus between climate change and themselves. Now that is the nexus. And how it affects the women. Women, I must say, face a lot of domestic violence. I'll give a scenario. This is actually a very live example. In Kapchora, it happened, I think, before COVID, that was 2021 or 2020, around there. An auntie of mine, I'm actually related to that auntie, died because of climate change and its effects because she was domestically violated by her husband. And so when the husband came back home and he couldn't find food on the table, he complained and he's asking for this food. Where is the food I'm supposed to eat? Where, those kind of questions. And because the woman did not have anything to do, the heavy rains had, taken away all her food she had planted for, that season. And so she did not have anything to cook for the kids. She did not have anything to cook for the family, for the husband, and for herself. And of course, the man did not want to hear excuses, didn't want to hear any excuses, didn't want to hear any reasons the woman was offering. And so the man beat her to death and she died. And so women are really affected by climate change because they face, like I said in the introduction, they are the backbone of the family. And so if they do not provide any food because of this climate change, they face this challenge. They face these effects after failing to provide things like this. Women at the same time face water scarcity. We've seen many reports by the UN when they come here to study the nation and climate change. And they take pictures of women walking very long distances to get water from these lake dugouts. I don't know if I'm bringing this out well, but have we seen some pictures on the media where these lakes are dug out and there's actually no water? Or maybe the water that is there is dirty, it is scarce. And so these women, after walking 1,000 miles from their home to the water they're walking to get is scarce. And so women face this challenge. Women face a challenge of water scarcity. And yet water is life, we know, like the presenters mentioned. Water is life. We need water in our daily life. We need water, to run our human activities, to run everything that we need at home. And so if it is scarce, what is going to happen to the women? What is going to happen to families? And yet we well know that we rely on water so much. And so it is an effect from climate change. And also as women, I'm giving the social impacts. Sorry I didn't break them down, but I'm giving the social impacts, and I only have 3 impacts. And the third one is displacement of people. We have seen many people being displaced from areas like Bududa. We've seen people displaced from areas like Chitezi. The human rights president mentioned Chitezi. And what happens to these people? I'll give a scenario. When floods come, or maybe heavy rainfall comes, and it happens that obviously floods come. And when these floods come, they destroy houses, they destroy water channels and things to do with that. And what happens? Of course, they'll leave their places of what? Of residence. Still, they're being displaced from their place of. And then where do they go to? They go to refugee camps like Chirandongo. They go to refugee camps in the western area. And this makes them dissatisfied with where they are living. Of course, nobody wants to live in a refugee camp. You know, east or west home is best, right? Yeah. So climate change to women, I'll now jump to the health effects. Climate change affects women in a way that there are childbirth difficulties. Childbirth difficulties come in a way that, I'll give an example in Uganda here today. There are hospitals that rely on solar energy. And so when they're relying on this solar energy, what happens when the heavy rainfall comes? Because this climate change is unpredictable. And if it is unpredictable, you cannot tell which season is coming next. You understand? And so when these heavy rainfalls come, there is not going to be supply from the sun to the solar energies that the hospitals are relying to. And so if there is no, of course, energy or electricity for operation for these ladies, they're going to lose their children, they're going to lose their lives, they're going to lose their children's lives, and things to do with the same. Of course, you're relying on solar energy, but you do not know what season is coming next, what is going to happen if the other season comes instead of what season you want it to come. I don't know if it makes sense, but women are really suffering more than the men. Of course, I'm not saying men don't suffer, but women are more facing the challenges of climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, food nutrition. Women are facing a challenge of food nutrition because the moderator talked about a friend of his that was planting dates. And so this also happens that, of course, this story did not only stick to dates, can also stick to plants like dodo. We know those plants like nakati, or the things that help pregnant women sustain their pregnancy and not get miscarriages and things of the sort. And so when there is no food security or things to do with nutrition, this pregnant woman will not have best, let me say, meals to feed their child or feed themselves so that they can sustain their pregnancy, or maybe they can have better children to give birth to because, of climate change. And I must say that climate change is affecting the pregnant women as well. And then we talk about water hygiene as the last health impact. Water hygiene, I spoke of water scarcity when I was giving a social impact, and I spoke about water scarcity in a way that these women walk 100 miles or 1,000 miles to get this water. From where they get the water, it is scarce because the lakes are dug out. Now, if there is that water that they're getting from the dug out wells or lakes, it is obviously dirty. And so it brings us back to the fact of water hygiene. It is not healthy. And so when these women get this water, take them back to their homes or something, they are going to face a challenge of hygiene. They're going to face a challenge like typhoid diseases, that come along with water hygiene. And this is a very bad aspect after climate change happens. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll conclude by giving the environmental impacts. The environmental impacts, like what is happening right now, we have high heat waves that are happening in the nation today. And I must say, before it started raining, I think this week, we noticed a bit of rainfall this week. But before it started raining, the new vision stated out that the heat waves is around 35 degrees Celsius, which is a very high temperature. And so I must say that we are facing this challenge, given the fact that now we are actually fasting. It affects us, the Muslims, more. I'm not saying that Christians do not face that challenge because they're also, I believe, they're in Lent period. But it affects the Muslims more and more further because our fasting is a different one, that you have to starve from like dawn to dusk. You do not eat anything. You do not drink anything. Even if the sun rises, even if it lowers down, there's no way you're going to take water. There's no way you're going to put something in your mouth because of the high temperatures. And we all know that the higher the temperatures, of course you want to take water, you want to put something in your mouth or something so that the levels of the temperature in your body can lower down. Now this is an effect. It affects the Muslims, it affects the women, it affects the pregnant mothers, it affects the children at school. We've seen that these high temperatures actually, if I can go to my next point, it brings fire outbreaks. Recently, we were at a refugee camp, Chirandongo, in I think the north. When I Google, it tells me west. And yet when we were going, we were heading north. Then I was confused, but I know western. Oh, Chirandongo refugee camp is in the west. So when we were speaking to the children about early marriages, teenage pregnancies, and things to do with that sort, a fire outbreak broke out across the street, and it was a shock to, of course, us that had gone there for the first time. And the kids were actually normal, which means it happens over and over again. It happens 1,000 times because they are normal. They're used to it, rather. And I feel like it should not happen like this. If a child is at school and maybe there is a fire outbreak, of course the fire outbreak is going to extend to the school. Now when the school burns down, of course they are going to drop out of school. What happens to that girl? What happens to that child? What happens to the school itself? It is a problem. And then my last impact is land and mudslides. Ladies and gentlemen, we well know that Bududa and many other areas in the country suffer land and mudslides because of heavy rainfalls that are unpredicted, things to do with, melting glaciers from Mount Renzori. And of course, when these ices melt down, it affects the people and the flooding. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me. I guess I have exhausted the question. I don't know if I have, but I believe I have exhausted the question. Thank you very much for listening.
Clap for Honorable Sabila Sarah. You have a question? All right. I think you can come and do approach.
Good afternoon to you all. A good evening to you all. My name is Chitimbali Sankei. I'm a law student. My question goes to anyone that can be able to answer it. It's more of about business sustainability. So most businesses, for example, if I'm starting up a small scale business and I do not, like, my thought and my intention is to save more until I reach a point where I'm able to spend more. So I will adopt materials that are not so expensive, but of course I'll be knowing that they are not eco-friendly. Of course I know I'm destroying the environment, but then I'm trying to save more and not, I'm having the intention not to spend more money on using eco-friendly materials. So about businesses, how can they be incentive, like how can they be, sorry, I'm looking for the word. How can they be maybe incentivized on how they can adopt to eco-friendly materials or packaging materials, just whatever they'll use that is eco-friendly. How can they adopt to them without having to significantly increase their costs in regards to climate change?
Okay, who is taking that question? The political impact. Who is taking it? The market? You? You? Okay. We have 5 minutes remaining.
All right, thank you very much for that wonderful question. And I believe you have the heart of a climate activist, where you want to start a business, but right now we are on saving our environment so that we can also benefit amid this business. Well, you said about the packaging materials. How does it feel when someone enters school with KFC, how it is packed, and someone enters with this chicken from Chengera in a polythene bag? It feels classy, you get? So if any business, you want to start any business, be in line with promoting the environment. I'm not saying that don't go for this. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go for polythene papers or what, but they disturb the environment. They're going to destroy them. But please, if you can at least adjust, get things that are not going to disturb or destroy our environment. Well, if you're going to use the natural sources, if you have used them, let me say, these people that make, have you seen the mats that come out of the papyruses and what? Yes, you're going to use those papyruses, but make sure you plant, again, replant. That's why we say save the environment. Your environment will be your responsibility. Thank you very much. Have I answered your question? Thank you.
Okay, I hear you loud and clear, but I am starting up the business. Okay, now let's not look at the fact that I'm starting up the business, but then I am somewhere and I'm still looking at saving. I'm not going to think about the environment, I'm not going to think about the climate when I have to make money, and maybe this money is to expand my business, and maybe I have a family, fees need to be paid, and then I'm thinking about using that money on adopting to eco-friendly materials, something like that. So my question is, at the time, I cannot be able to think about the environment. It will actually be my last thought because I'm thinking about my business, my family, school, any issue that I may have. I'm going to solve that first, and I'm not going to think about the climate.
Who is taking that? Eunice Chitimbo wants to answer Chitimbo. Fine.
Thank you so much for that question. You said you want to save, isn't it? You've not yet thought of the environment. The reason as to why we are here today, our theme is your environment is your responsibility. The reason as to why we are here today, people do not know that what we have actually been doing, the activities we've actually been carrying out, are going to hurt us. We are like throwing a polythene outside. You just throw it because you do not know. We are actually ignorant. That's the reason. So we are here to let everyone know that what you're doing may not seem like it's affecting you at that particular point, but it's going to affect you sometime later. Have it together. Thank you so much.
Okay, since we are live on And I think, friends, have answered your question, right? What was your question? Just ask it.
I asked two questions.
The-
We answered the first one.
The last one.
The last one was about how can one be able to think about the climate when they're already having their own personal issues, for example, the business, family, if they're getting income, and one is supposed to adopt eco-friendly material, packaging material that is supposed to help with the climate. I will not use that money for saving the climate. I will use it for my business instead, because it is what is on my mind at the moment, and it's what I feel I need to fix at the time.
Okay, you're a student of law, right? You're a student of laws. Okay. There's what you call ratio decidendi. The reasonability. Now you weigh and see that if I use this money for this, what will happen in the future? Because you have kids, you have your children, you want to do what is there present, but what about in the future? For you, you're aging, but remember you have young ones, that you're living in this crooked environment, in this environment that is full of problems. So now what you do, you sit down and be like, if I do this at this moment, what is the most, what is the worst thing? Is it to do business right now and I earn, or it will affect me more in the future and others? Secondly, you can also use the religious part of it. And you say that it's not for my own gain, but what about my family, my other people, the friends I stay with, and others? So you also look at the reasonability of everything. You weigh the impact of something versus what you're getting, so that you can do act. Haven't you ever been in a situation whereby you want to do something, but you feel like, I'm the one going to gain, but what about what? Others. I believe I haven't answered your question to your satisfaction, but but it deserves a religious part of it. I pray that God gives us guidance and gives Alison guidance not to do business in that regard, so that we can preserve our environment. Remember, your environment is your responsibility, Alison. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of the Climate Change Symposium, and we've been with our honorables. Say wave to the people. Honorable A.V. Mutesi, wave. Honorable Sarah, and Honorable Amon Peritina. What about Kitimbo and Nachigude from Masakasek? Thank you so much. My name is Balige Afan. Have a great iftar. Assalamu alaikum.
Eno, yes, Salam TV.